Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Veterans Day. Happy Sunday. I'm Ashley Salmadani, and I am coming to you live for day one of a 21-day live challenge. And I cannot even believe that I accepted this challenge, but I did. This is a challenge that I was put up to by some of the people that I work with, and I accepted it. So here we go. Day one. I'm super excited. If you hop on live, if you can say hey. If you watch by replay, go ahead and put hashtag replay in the comments, and that way I can see who all has watched this and who is on this 21-day journey with me. I'm super nervous, excited, and all the things about this. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about that challenge, and then the topic that we're going to talk about tonight is about perfectionism, and whether or not you know you're a perfectionist, or you know a perfectionist, or maybe you're a closet perfectionist and you don't even know it yet. I hope that you get some value from this video. Hey Ashley, hey Michelle, where's everyone watching from? So when you hop on, tell me, where are you watching this live from? And I am going to look at my notes because in an ironic twist, I do feel the need to have notes. I cannot just free flow on lives, y'all. So anyway, with this challenge, there's actually a few people that are taking the challenge with me on. So I've had fun watching all of their day one lives so far. And everyone, I feel like everyone has a different goal with this challenge. And so for me, the goal really, when I thought about doing 21 days of live, I thought, oh my gosh, this brings up my biggest weakness, my biggest insecurity, which is, and I'm going to be vulnerable with you guys, is really just feeling the need to have everything perfect before I start something or before I do something. And I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but if you can relate to that, can you mash the little heart button? If you can relate to that feeling of not starting something, or not doing something, or not putting effort towards something until you feel like you can do it perfectly or it will turn out perfectly. If that's you, show me a little love, because that's definitely me. So for me, this challenge, oh, thank you for the hearts. For me, this challenge is really going to be all about practicing what I preach. And what I preach is that we are all so unique, and we all have something of huge value to offer this world. And you don't need to be perfect to make an impact. Again, you don't need to be perfect to make an impact. And I have to believe that of myself. I heard this statistic. I was watching a TED Talk last week at some point, and I'm probably going to butcher the exact number, but I think it was, okay, so the odds of you who are watching, the odds of you being born on the exact day, in the exact place, at the exact time, city, location, all of those things that you were, is 1 in 400 trillion. So the odds of you being you basically are like 1 in 400 trillion. So if that doesn't convince you that you're pretty darn unique and special, it should. And so I really believe that of everyone. I believe that we all have amazing things to share. There's so many things that we don't even share or do that we're meant to, and I believe that. And so for myself, I feel like a lot of times I hold back on things that I want to do because of this perfectionism problem, where I feel like it just has to be perfect, but it's not the case. So for me, this challenge is all about breaking through that barrier and sharing things from the heart with you, really, without feeling the need to be perfect. So yes, sometimes when I go live, are you going to see, the ring light and, all these things? Sure. Not that I'm perfect, but I'm going to try and I am going to go live across my social media, whether it be on Instagram or my business page or here on my profile, without the need to be perfect. And I'm just going to share things with you. For example, tonight, I didn't read through my live a million times and make sure that I had every little detail down. And I just pushed the live button. So I guess as you're going, if you end up tuning into any of this 21 days with me, my challenge for all of us is to pick something, or challenge yourself to look at something that's an area, I don't want to say an area of weakness. I would say an area for improvement in your life, something that holds you back from doing and being all that you were meant to do, and work at it and make that area of improvement your strength and your superpower. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. So without further ado, what I want to talk about is perfectionism, and 3 ways that I personally have to frame life for myself to kind of move forward toward my goals without getting stuck in the perfectionitis rut. And I do think these 3 things will apply to you, even if you are not a self-proclaimed or recovering perfectionist. So if you are, so let's do a little a perfectionism survey. If you're like, I'm a perfectionist, I'm working with it, I'm using it for good, but you're a perfectionist, can you put a 1 in the comments? So if you vibe with me on that and you're like, yep, I'm definitely a perfectionist, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It can be really powerful if you use it, if you harness it. So 1 in the comments if you are a perfectionist. If you know a perfectionist, so your spouse is a perfectionist, your sister, your mother, brother, uncle, whoever it is, if they are a perfectionist, if you can put a number 2. I see Megan just jumped on. Hey, oh, AJ is my husband. He's on. He says a number 1, and yes, he is definitely a perfectionist, but I will say he harnesses that power for great good, so that's a good thing. My mom is on perfection. Oh, perfectionist in the house. I got it from my mama, I guess. So number 2, if you know a perfectionist, and then number 3, if you're not really sure, because I wonder if, as I'm talking tonight, if some of these traits and things will come to mind and you'll think, oh, I am a perfectionist. Because the tricky thing about perfectionism is sometimes it shows up in procrastination. So a lot of times we think of perfectionists as these people who just get a ton of things done and they're like, killing the game at everything. And that's not always the case. Sometimes the people who appear to maybe be lazy or get nothing done or procrastinate, or they just don't amount to very much or haven't, it's because they're perfectionists and they're too afraid to even start on something or move forward because they have that fear of not being perfect. So you may even be a perfectionist and you don't even know it, and you're feeling bad about yourself for not moving forward on things. But hopefully this live will give you a few ideas of how to break through that, because you can. And I wanted to share with you a little bit. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to scroll through my notes, but they're printed out, so that's funny. Okay, so I wanted to share with you, just to give you a little bit of my journey with this. And I know for some of you are like, oh my gosh, please, your journey with perfectionism, but it really is something that has held me back a lot in life, even from the time I was a kid. Really, I can think of so many instances where I either didn't try something or I didn't move forward with something in pretty much every area of life, because I was too worried about not being able to execute it perfectly or do something really well. And really, that's also tied into what us being worried about what people think about us, right? But for example, my most embarrassing moment, so my most embarrassing perfection moment was as I was going through my master's program, actually. So this is now, oh my gosh, like quite a while ago, maybe this is probably about 7 years ago. And it's one of those memories that just sticks in my mind. And it really bothered me for a long time until I kind of pinpointed what was going on with me in this moment. So anyway, I was in a master's class and our professor challenged us. It was on the fly, and we were supposed to do, she said, all right, here's our activity. We're going to do an elevator pitch. And I can't even remember what the elevator pitch was, but it's like you run into your superintendent in the hallway and you have 30 seconds to talk to them about curriculum or something. And it was something that I was not prepared for. I'm deathly afraid of not being prepared because I'm a perfectionist and I wanted to have every response and every move be this certain way. And when she set that scenario up, I'm not kidding, it almost makes me cry because it was so weird and so strange what I did. So I literally, everyone was going and volunteering. And then I was the last one left and I just did not feel prepared. So I refused to do it, making myself look even worse, right? But I was so afraid because I did not know what to say on the fly. I felt so uncomfortable. And rather than taking that moment for what it was, which was an opportunity to practice, not be perfect, rather than even taking that, I just made myself look kind of weird, to be honest, and refused to do the activity. And it always bothered me. And in fact, I had a conversation later with my professor about that and kind of worked through it a little bit with her as to what was going on. But now looking back, I can definitely see that was because I was operating from an unhealthy place of perfection. So that kind of gets into the first way that you can hone perfectionistic tendencies, and really operate from a more healthy place. So I know this isn't going to apply to everyone, but I hope that you hear something of value from tonight. So number one is really, Kiri's been there. I see Colleen's on. Hey everyone. Okay, so fun to see so many friendly faces popping on. All right, so number one, the first way that you can really kind of death to procrastination, right? Or not, perfectionism, is to be a healthy perfectionist versus a neurotic one. Okay, so it's okay to be a perfectionist, but there's a way to have a healthy angle, and there's a way to be neurotic, like I was in that master's class. That was so neurotic. I was so operating out of a neurotic place. So I want to give you some examples, kind of a contrast between healthy and neurotic with the same topics. Okay, so a neurotic perfectionist is going to be someone who kind of lets their achievements and their performance define who they are. Okay, so if they set these high standards and they fall anywhere short, they feel like that's a reflection of who they are. Okay, so the neurotic perfectionist, and that's where I was operating at in that master's class. I was feeling like if I didn't perform to this high standard, which no one said except for me, that was a definition of who I am. And that's so not a definition of who we are when we make failures. A healthy perfectionist, on the other hand, is someone who's going to be positively motivated by high standards, can have really high standards, but uses those things to kind of move them forward. Okay, so they're not letting little failures along the way or imperfections along the way bring them down or make them feel less than or subpar in any way. So using those high standards to spur on action. So I see Kim's on. Hey, Kim. All right. So how do you tell which one you're operating in? Well, let me give you a couple of examples, and I'm going to read these because I just jotted them down. Okay. So like, for example, so your relationship with goals, I'm just going to use this one. So relationship with goals from a healthy, let's say from a neurotic perfectionist standpoint, you're going to be weighed down by your goals. Like, I'm not going to succeed if I don't do this well. Like I have this goal, but if I don't succeed, what's going to happen? And you just feel this burden, this weight, and this like driving need to like do well. Okay. So that's a neurotic perfectionist relationship with goals. Now, a healthy perfectionism, which is totally fine to have, you're going to feel positively motivated by your goals. There's a sense of like enjoyment, excitement, and all the things as you take action toward the goals. There's no unhealthy, but what if I fail? I'm going to be a failure, and all of those things. So tip number one is to kind of check yourself if you're a perfectionist or a recovering perfectionist and see which zone you're in. Are you in the neurotic zone? Are you in the healthy zone? And then if you're in the neurotic zone, kind of shift it over to the healthy zone. Just focus on taking actions rather than worrying about what's going to happen. Celebrate those little small victories along the way. And then hopefully you can shift yourself into more of like a healthy zone. So that's my first tip for those of you who also, like me, kind of find yourself in that rut of not moving forward or kind of feeling these uncomfortable feelings toward your goals or toward the things you want to do in life because you're afraid of being perfect or not being perfect. Okay, number two. And number three, wait till we get to number three, because number three, I feel like, is a game changer for everyone, regardless of anything. So number two is really quick. It's just getting rid of an all or nothing mindset. So for me, for this challenge, wow, this is great, because there's no way I could plan out 21 days of live content and have it all be perfect and flawless and amazing. There's just no way. There's not enough time in the day, nor would I do that. So getting rid of the all or nothing mindset. So for me, as I go into this challenge, I'm like, all right, it's definitely not all, because if I was going to do all, I would literally sit down and plan everything out and have like this message that I want to share and deliver it in the perfect way that I want to, but it's not possible to happen. So instead, how I'm thinking of this challenge is really just making progress and sharing little bits and pieces and things that I've wanted to for some time, but I haven't necessarily had the time to think it all out. So getting rid of that all or nothing feeling like I have to do this, this website or this project or be in this relationship that has to be at this level 10 right away, and getting rid of that all or nothing mentality. Because if you have an all or nothing mentality, you end up with nothing and nothing. Like nothing gets done. You don't make progress and all the things. One of our mentors within one of my businesses says to make 1%, like your goal should be for yourself, really in any area of life, is to make 1% progress per day. Just be 1% better than you were yesterday. Rather than thinking of these huge global big picture things that seem so overwhelming and so intimidating, is just to take actions forward and be 1% better than you were the day before. So getting rid of the all or nothing mindset is my tip number 2 for tackling perfectionism and really making progress in life in the things that you want to. Again, whether that be relationships, whether that be business, whether it be anything really. And then number 3, this is one of like the game-changing I would say a game-changing way to view life. And this is backed by tons of research. And I just finished reading this book. It's called the 80-20 rule. And now I'm forgetting the guy's name. I think it's Richard Koch that wrote it, but I'll tell you where you can find this book in just a minute. So the 80-20 rule is the law of the vital few. So if you've heard of the law of the vital few or the 80-20 rule, drop a, for lack of a better option, drop a raised hand emoji in the comments. So if you've heard of this, let me know. It's one of my favorite personal development books for, I guess it's mindset. It's more just a worldview, really. Okay, so, perfectionists, I'm looking at my notes. So perfectionists really, the problem is that there's extremely high standards for everything that they do, right? So I'm thinking of myself. I went and worked a little bit in a coffee shop yesterday, and I was sitting there looking at a blank screen. I found myself, and this is embarrassing. I'm going to tell you anyways. I literally sat, I had like a 4-hour time block. Thank you, AJ. My hubby gave me like a big block of time, and I was so thankful for that. I sat looking at a blank, I was working on my website. I looked at a blank page of a website, okay, blank page, white square, for an hour and 15 minutes. So I literally sat there looking at a blank page for an hour and 15 minutes. And this was because I was so focused on how do I do each piece. Like I had this perfect image of how I wanted things to be, and I couldn't push the trigger because I knew my final result in this moment was not going to be to the standard that I had in my mind. So in preparing for this live today, I kicked myself in the butt about an hour and 15 minutes later and said, do one thing. So start somewhere and do the 20% of things that are going to get you 80% of your results. So I reminded myself of this 80% or 80-20 rule. 20% of your efforts are going to give you 80% of your results. So if you kind of think it, to me, this rule really helps me to kind of get started with things and to focus on those like really high value tasks that are going to get the most bang for my buck, whether that be in business, relationships, goal achievement, all of the things. Focusing on the 20% of things. Yes, the other 80% are not going to be perfect, but if you can do those 20% well, you're going to get 80% of your results from that. So those crucial few factors for if you kind of struggle with perfectionistic type of tendencies, if you can train your brain to sort of move and take action toward the vital few things that make the most difference, it will really help you to move forward. So I really struggle with procrastination because of being a perfectionist. Now, some people don't. For me, procrastination is huge. I will put things off until the very last minute because of this fear of not executing them perfectly. And that, honestly, that's the worst thing that you could do, right? So it's better to take those 20% high value tasks and do those things well, and then do the other things, but don't feel so much pressure to be perfect. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's really it. So those are my 3 tips on how you can fight perfectionistic tendencies and really just get more done in life and feel less blocked and burdened and all of those things that really inhibit you from doing and being and sharing all that you were meant to be. Because I do believe you are 1 in 400 trillion and you were made on purpose and with a purpose. And I don't want anyone to feel held back by this need to this need to be perfect, or this fear of failure, or this fear of what other people think of you. And so if I really believe that, and I do in my heart of hearts, I need to be an example and really just punch fear in the face and do this 21-day live challenge, just raw and not perfect. Like tonight, I have not said half the things that I wanted to say, and I've said more than half of the things that I didn't really want to say. And I'm okay with that, because it's better to take forward action and make progress than be perfect. And we don't have to be perfect to make an impact. So I want you to remember that you don't have to be perfect to make an impact in your world, in your work, with your family, with your friends, with your kids. If you have an online business, if you have an offline business, you don't have to execute things perfectly to make an impact. What you do need to do is be authentic and be real and share who you are with those around you, and don't share your mess, share your message. If it was a mess, turn it into a message and share those things. So that's all I have for you tonight. I did what I was going to mention. So I did compile a list of my top 6 personal development books, the 80-20 rule being one of those. My top 6 personal development books focused on mindset, and really books that have been game changers for me in releasing some of these roadblocks in my own mind. And I really think that they'll be helpful for you too. So if you're interested in that, go to, where do I have this linked? So it's in my free Facebook group called Tailor Made Best Life. It's linked if you go to my profile picture, or if you go up to like the banner. I just reposted this too, so it's really easy. Just click, there's a link to Tailor Made Best Life. Click in, join. You have to like click join. You have to answer 2 questions, and then in the files section, so there's a files section, you'll see that document. It's like 6. I think I actually labeled it imperfectly 5 personal development books on mindset. It's actually 6, but I didn't change it because I'm a work in progress. I'm not trying to be perfect there. There's also in the file section, there's some workout plans and things like that. So check it out if you're interested. Also, if over this 21 days, I don't have all my content planned out. I have some because some lives were already planned, but I don't have everything planned out. So if there are particular topics or things that you want to see more of from me, let me know in the comments here, because I'm totally open. I'm game to share about things that you'll find valuable. And I need 21 days of content, and I sure don't have it. So let me know what you would like to see. And again, if you watched through this whole thing, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you'll tune in and pop in as you can throughout this next 21 days and say hi, and just come along this journey with me. I'm really excited about it. I'm nervous in a way, but I'm also all about personal development and growth. And I do believe in my heart of hearts, the only way that you grow is by getting uncomfortable. And that right out, I always do this illustration, I don't have the things, but right outside of your comfort zone, like if this is your comfort zone, the magic happens like here, like right outside of it. So I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone over the next 21 days. I'm going to practice what I preach. I am going to do things without having the need to feel like they're perfectly executed. And I hope that you find value along the way. So I hope that you all have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.